Hello, David Lipper.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
I was actually just sending an email over to Nicole and Michelle with my thoughts on the film. I am just in love with Just Swipe, David.
Well, thank you so much.
It is giddy. It is gleeful. It's easy breezy, light and lovely. And I love how Elizabeth Blake Thomas has not only written the script to take us back to the days of old-fashioned courtship, but also to minimize the fear-mongering that so many other COVID quarantine films have done of constantly on Zoom, and that's all there is, and you never feel a connection. Here, the connection that we feel, thanks to the way that Elizabeth has done the camera shots of essentially doing full screen like a coverage or reaction shot in a regular shoot, we get that connection. We feel the connection between Brandon and Vanessa, and the two of you just soar.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. We're very proud of this film. The reaction has been tremendous. So I'm just so happy that it's been connecting with so many people. And yeah.
No, it's a film that we need now. We need to see films like this.
Well, I agree with that. And I'll tell you what's so important that I think about the film is we're so focused on all the negatives on the pandemic and what we've lost and what we haven't been able to do. And it's been, we're on Zoom now and we're FaceTiming rather than connecting with people. But I like to look at the positives no matter what the situation. And I think this movie makes us examine just what romance has been and where it needs to kind of come back to. And the way it used to be is you meet someone, then there's a courting period.
Yep.
You become friends. You get to know the person, and then maybe you get intimate. If you see the transition that Jodie has in this movie, right off the bat, she meets the guy, goes out with him, and takes him home. Then, through the pandemic, she's forced to get to know a guy that she normally wouldn't be dating, and develops a friendship and a true courtship period. And then when that first kiss happens, it's so dramatic, it's special, it's amazing. And that's the way it used to be.
Yep.
That's the way romance and these old rom-coms used to be. And we've changed, as a society. It's almost like hop in the bed first and ask questions later. And then you get to know the person and you go, oh my God.
What did I do?
Right, I've married a crazy person. And you're like, well, had you gotten to know the person first, you may have saved yourself some aggravation. And so I think it forces us to kind of take that look. And I really hope that's a positive message to come out of this, because a lot of people have been in this situation. If you look at the explosion of all the dating apps and the way people are starting online, let's take a moment to get to know the person first before we jump to level 10. There's still nine levels before that. and I think this movie shows empirically, through the way it was for me and her, that this is really a smart way to go. And it's a lesson I personally think I've learned from this movie. And I'm excited, to get to know somebody first now before jumping into bed with that person.
Your character of Brandon, Daniel Brandon, whatever name he wants to use, is a guy that I know I would just be so thrilled to meet. He is so affable, amiable, funny, I think it's one of your best characters. And I've been watching you for decades.
The funny thing is, Elizabeth and I have known each other for some time. She was the first AD on the first film I directed called Deathlink, which just came out a couple of months ago. It's on all the platforms now. Soy latte, please, Mark. And so she approached me with this film. It's pretty ironic. She said it was written by a girl named Wendy Braff. And I said, Wendy Braff? I went to theater camp and college with Wendy Braff. And she was like, no way. I said, yeah. And I said, well, I know Wendy a long time, and she's a very talented writer. She was a pretty happening sitcom writer in the 90s.
Yeah, she was doing Growing Pains was one of the ones that she was doing, yeah.
Correct. She was on Growing Pains right when I was doing Full House. And so we all, the whole half-hour world's a little incestuous. We all know each other.
Mm-hmm.
But with Wendy, I have a whole history there just in terms of, even like back to Emerson College when we worked together at Emerson. And she said, would you star in my pilot that I'm shooting here for my TV thing? And I said, of course I will. So that's how far back I go with her. And it was just one of those flukes. Elizabeth had no idea we even knew each other. But anyway, Elizabeth came out and she said, I thought of you immediately for this character. And Wendy, I think, had written it for somebody, I think, a little heavier and a little bolder. And I think that's what she saw in this guy, that it was more of a dramatic change from the older picture to the newer picture. But Elizabeth was like, no, but this character is right up David's alley. And Wendy's like, well, I know David forever, and he's great, let's do it. And so that's how it kind of came about. And so when you say you like the character, it really warms my heart because it's really just me. I didn't have to do a whole lot of acting in this. I just got to be me in this situation. It's in a situation, to tell you the truth, I can identify with. I mean, let's look at pretty much all of us who are single. I'm still single. Who are on these dating apps, and it's like, okay, do I put up a picture from yesterday, or do I put up a picture from 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I'm going to put the picture up from 10 years ago because I got to get them to swipe right before I can even have a hello. And it's like, then when the hello happens, okay, maybe I'll say, by the way, what I do is I've got like probably a 10-year-old picture up in the profile pic, and then very recent pics within the collage of pictures. So it's like, well, that's a recent one. But like, it's true, because people like Jodie's character will swipe through 100 pictures a mile a second, and like go right by you if you don't catch their eye. It's almost like it's advertising, and it's very sad that it's kind of come to this, that this is how we have to kind of grab somebody's attention. But I think he makes a valid point in the film where he's like, if I didn't put that picture up, you never would have stopped to take a look. And she admittedly says, okay, that's true. But that's not the point. The point is, you misled me. And of course, that whole thing has to play out. But I think Brandon makes a lot of good points, which is, we'd like to get to this place where true connections, true friendships matter more than what's on the outside, and we're just not there yet. But maybe, just maybe, through this pandemic, we're getting a little closer to getting back to that kind of romance and what's important in connecting, not just physically with somebody, but connecting on an intellectual level and connecting on a spiritual connection level.
Mm-hmm.
Being aligned on certain thoughts and humor and love of the arts, whatever it may be. To find commonality that's more than just we fit each other physically.
Yeah. Or what you're seeing on social media.
Right, which is never real to begin with.
And I love that this script stays away from that. But for one reference about where Donna says to Vanessa, well, did you look at, is your MySpace up? Did you take it down? Did you check in for MySpace? This stays away completely from social media, and I love that aspect. These little details really make this, it's very layered, societally layered.
Oh, yeah. Elizabeth was extremely centered on details, everything from color palettes to each character and their spaces to all the things you're talking about. And what was interesting about this is we were going through vaccine times when we made the film.
Mm-hmm.
We made that film before the vaccine came out.
Wow.
So we were all hoping and praying for that vaccine, as we are in the movie. But we didn't know. We weren't quite sure. When is it coming out? We think it's coming out. It should be out by Valentine's Day. We weren't sure. And we just thought and hoped it would. And somehow, we were right on the money. I mean, like, it literally came out like January, February. And so it's kind of crazy how Wendy and Elizabeth were prophetic on that one. But we were very much living like that. And what was incredible is we basically all quarantined in the Sinatra estate in Woodland Hills,
Mm-hmm.
where we shot the whole movie. We divvied up different pieces of that estate for different rooms and different homes. And then we basically block shot all our coverage in our spaces. So believe it or not, I shot 60 pages in one day for my character.
Oh, my God.
I don't think there are many actors, not to toot my own horn, but there aren't many probably that can pull that off, that have the theater training, or I don't even know what that training is. It's the ability to memorize 60 pages, whatever you want to call that. And when they presented it to me, I said, I don't think that's possible, but let me see, let's give it a shot and see how far I get. If not, we'll come back and we'll do it on another day. And we did. We got it all, because when you're only shooting one person's coverage and the camera's locked up in a couple of positions, you're shooting two cameras. I go back to the dining room table, and it's a different holiday, it's different set dressing.
Mm-hmm.
But the camera positions and the lighting and all that stuff, which takes so much time, didn't have to be reset. So the only real person that has to come up with something difficult is the actor to memorize the 60 pages. And if you can pull that off, which somehow I did, then you can do that. And what it allowed us to do, which it was very important for us, was we were too concerned with the cost of COVID testing and also the anxiety of being in a space for too long with too many people. Because go back to when things were in lockdown, it was scary. It was a really scary time. So we wanted to do a really short schedule if we could. And that was kind of the agreement we all made with each other, is said, look, we're going to shoot during COVID times, which we were allowed to do. We had very strict rules. And part of that was living together in this space. So all that put together made the movie not just what you see on the screen, I think, as a performance, but I think it was real for many of us in many ways. We were truly living that. And there was a chronology to the shooting where when Jodie and I finally meet at the end of the film, that was the last thing we shot. So all that awkwardness and coming out of our own spaces and finally meeting in this group space, it all played very real for us.
The entire film plays with great honesty and authenticity, David. With every character, with the scenarios, with the setups, with the conversations. It is so honest and authentic that you feel that chronology. You feel that you did shoot this chronologically. You aren't pretending. And I really appreciate that you guys did that, because it comes across. I'm really curious, because I've been watching you since the very beginning. I think I even caught your initial ABC after school special many decades ago. And then on to...
Oh, my God. Kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. I mean, I watched you in True...
Boys Meet Boys or something like
that. Something in there. I've been watching you since then, even before Full House.
Wow.
From when it aired regular, not in reruns or on Cozy or Me TV, but back when it came out in the 90s.
So much.
I have so enjoyed watching you anytime you pop up. CJ and Date on True Calling.
Date was a great rom-com. That was a really good one.
It really was. Even Michael Damian's film High Strung, all of a sudden the camera goes to the stage manager in the wings, and there you are. And I was like, oh my God.
Funny. Yeah, I was working in Romania at the same time, and Michael saw me and he said, David, can you come do a day or two on my film? I said, sure.
And then Frequency, which is one of my favorite films, and then the adaptation for the series.
I love that. I love that show. I was so bummed when it didn't get picked up, because they also had huge things in store for my character in second season. Because you only really discovered who I was the last few episodes as they're trying to find the serial killer. And then the whole next season, you were going to see a whole lot of me. And the scripts were coming in great, and it was a real shame that didn't go forward.
I fell in love, as I said, with the film, so then I had to see the series when it came out. And because I remember when the film came out, because my dad was a ham radio operator. And I said, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. And when it came out on VHS, actually, he sat in Philadelphia watching it. And I sat here and he's going, and we're talking about the film back and forth. And radio wave signals and all the cool stuff. So I was very disappointed. But then, the last couple years, Reboot Camp is hilarious.
Oh, thank you. So I'm really proud of that one.
That...
On the critical side, that one has crushed it. I mean, we won the Austin Film Festival. We won the Garden State Film Festival, a bunch of others. It's got 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and 4.5 stars on Amazon and iTunes. I mean, that's probably the most well-received film I've ever done. Was really excited about that one.
You are hilarious. I laughed my ass off. Ivo did a call into my live radio show, and for half an hour we talked about the film. And I know, I raved to him about you. And he loved working with you and having you in that role. Because you just
thank you.
Knock it out of the park. But of course, still,
so much.
One of my favorites, though, is Dante's Peak. Although you meet an untimely end.
It's funny. A lot of people, a lot of fans over the years have written to me saying that they've watched that film in, like, their chemistry class or something. And I didn't even know that, when we made it. I had no idea that would ever be something like that.
Yeah.
So for years, the people have still been watching that as, I guess, some kind of geological message that teachers are using. I'm not even sure how they do that, but those fan letters, yeah.
Yeah, it has the whole science in that one. It's actually the legitimate science. But I'm really curious for you, David, because you have such an eclectic resume. You keep working, you show up here and there, you take on roles, like Reboot Camp. You come into something like Just Swipe, but you also direct. When you look at projects, or when you're acting, such as in Just Swipe, do you look at them with your director's eye or strictly as an actor?
Well, funny enough, what I've been doing a lot of on all these movies now is producing. And so I think to first look at everything from a producer's point of view. What's the best thing for the movie? Who's the best director for this movie? Who's the best actor for this movie? If I fill that hole and I think I'm the best guy for the job, then I'll take it. If I don't think I'm the best guy for the job, I'll put somebody else on it. I'm doing a film now called Hunt Club. That's why I'm in Mississippi. We are in final prep here before we start shooting on the 16th. And I was going to direct it, and then I thought, you know what? This is a female empowerment story. I don't think it's appropriate for me to direct it. And so it is a script I wrote, and obviously now this will be the third movie I've written that will have been produced. But I really needed a female, I thought, at the helm, and that's why I had Janelle Shirtcliffe directing it. So I always start with that hat. What's the best thing for the movie? What's going to make the best movie? What's going to make sure my investors are taken care of and paid back if I'm responsible on that end, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. And then, ultimately there's the creative side. And if I am producing, I'm super involved on the creative side, just like I would be as a director. So on that side, my 2 cents are felt all the way down. It's just a little easier when I'm the director because I don't have a director to convince of certain things. But certainly I'll have those talks with my directors and say, hey, whose point of view are we looking at here? Because I don't think we're leaning strong enough towards the hero's point of view. Or I want to make sure that you're doing this for a reason that's fulfilling what you're trying to say about this character. I'm hoping this is moving the action along in a way that's moving it in the proper way for the plot and not just because you think it's a cool shot. And that's oftentimes what I find myself sometimes in conflict with other directors, that I'm only going to be pushing for things like that. Otherwise, I let them do their jobs. If I just find it's fighting the story, that's when I'll get involved and say, hey, look, I think that's a cool shot, but I don't think it's serving the story. And here's why. And let's just make sure we're always following the rules, which is we tell a story first, and everything else is window dressing. Mm-hmm. And whatever we're doing is to make sure we're telling that story in an effective way for the audience to follow it and enjoy it. And mostly, you know, it's funny, sometimes I have to do this. I want to also make sure I'm protecting my heroes. You know, and sometimes something can be unflattering to the hero of the movie, and I want to make sure that that doesn't happen in the right moment. So those are the kinds of things I'll fight for, and those are the kinds of discussions. If you want to call it a director's hat on, I'll say I'll put my director's hat on and maybe discuss a few shots and maybe some other options that I think may work better. Mm-hmm. But that's as far as I'll take it when I'm not directing.
So now what's happening with your film Wolf Mountain, which I think, is that in post
Wolf
now?
Mountain is to finish, I hope, by this weekend. Even though I'm out of town, I finished everything on my end before I left LA. I finished my color correction, I finished my sound mix, and now the post house is conforming and putting it all together. And I'm out to sales probably in a week.
Wow.
And that thing should be released, I would say, by end of summer or by late summer. I would hope to see that released. So, yeah.
Nice, because I'm looking forward to that one because you're directing, but you're also one of the main principals in it.
Yeah, I've been in all the films I've directed. So, so this will be my third film. So after Hunt Club, I'm directing a film called Crocodile Creek. That teams me up again with Kelly Price, who wrote Wolf Mountain and starred in that. So again, him and I will be working together as actors and writer-director. And we're excited about that film. So yeah, it's just been a very busy time. So we have to get back to set here in a second, finishing up another location scout. But I'm really glad that you reached out, and I hope you and I keep talking, because obviously the films keep coming, and I hope we can talk about these other ones as they come out. They're going to keep coming out.
Anytime, David. You have my home number. You called me on it.
I love it.
You can reach me whenever. David, I can't thank you enough. I have waited 38 years as a critic to get to speak with you. So
don't wait 38 years for the next one. Let's do it again sometime this year when the next movie comes out.
Absolutely. Well, you go off and you have a great location scout and you have a great shoot. And fingers crossed that Wolf Mountain gets wrapped this weekend.
All right.
David.
You're out to God's ear. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.